Earlier this year, insurance business was here at the BIBA Conference 2026 to ask the industry's biggest questions to insurers, brokers, MGAs, associations and more. In this edition, we ask, how can the industry improve collaboration between brokers, carriers and their clients?
For me, the key thing is education. So carriers ensuring that the broker is educated on the terms, especially exclusions, but also in this market, the rating, because we're in a soft market at the minute and clients are a little bit confused as to why their premiums are dropping massively. And then as long as the broker understands, they can then relay that to the client, which removes any ambiguity in the event of a claim.
I think it's the same as how you set up any effective partnership. I think there's got to be one of transparency and openness between all three parties. Is everyone clear on the objectives that you're trying to achieve from whatever the structure is, the arrangement you're coming up with? So I think that clarity first up and making sure that everyone's clear in their roles and responsibilities. I think insurers sometimes can be a little bit closed. So that transparency is really, really key, which unlocks, I think, the success of a partnership.
I think it's really interesting. I think, historically, the industry has come from a very kind of transactional, collaborative approach. So looking at a risk-by-risk basis. Come renewal, a piece of business going on cover, the broker will then kind of revisit the underwriter maybe 9 months later. Of course, brokers kind of talking to their clients throughout the whole policy period. But if we're looking at a kind of broker to insurer segment, I think there has to be a lot more going on around that collaborative approach, kind of on a more strategic level and not a risk level. So I think, there should be ongoing conversations, understanding what's going well, what's not working well, and how we can kind of work together, understanding kind of opportunities from a wider kind of appetite piece, a segment piece, where is business going well, where is it not going well, and really using that kind of data to kind of inform those decisions. It's great to have conversations, but you really need a solid bedrock of data to help inform those decisions and make those kind of those calls.
Yeah, really interesting question. So I think the key point is understanding what that end user's needs are. So Fast Underwriting, we're part of the B3 group, and we specifically work on very detailed niches where the broker and the underwriter really understand that niche, whether it's around contracting for PI business or specialist motors. So if each group really understands what they're doing, then that collaboration starts to come naturally because you've got joint ambitions, joint outcomes, and joint understanding of the client's needs. So I think working with people that really understand that end user at all levels of the insurance value chain is the way to improve it.
I think collaboration is my middle name, right? It's all about, as a trade body, we want to work with the others. We want to work with the ABI, CII, MGA, and bring everybody together for that greater good. And so I think we've seen some really good collaboration with things like total retail signposting this year, where we announced at the beginning of the year that if a customer couldn't access the cover that they wanted, that the broker or the insurer would signpost it to a firm they knew could help. But if they didn't know who that firm was, they could signpost it to BIBA. And with our Find Insurance service, we can get that solution. So collaboration on something like that, where it's all about customer outcomes, is really, really important. But of course, there's other collaborations. We have a manifesto full of things that we want. That's why we exist, though.
Well, one thing really on that has to be communication. So ultimately, if all stakeholders are communicating regularly, number one, being transparent with the challenges which exist in each area of that sort of stakeholder model, then that will improve outcomes for clients at the end of the day. If you look in the past, where there has been a disconnect for customers in the end, that's because the relationship and the transparency of communication and the quality of dialogue has failed. And I think that's the way to do it. It's quite a simple answer, but more talking, more transparency, more honestly, more action, that will improve.
It's probably looking at longer term relationships. Obviously, transactional relationships are probably not the best approach. It's looking at, we've got a lot of expertise, for example. And I think those partnerships that we've got with insurance companies or brokers, long-standing relationships where we plan a little bit more ahead, looking at risk management, looking at tenders, bids. There's so much more that we can do. MI is a great thing as well, data, insight, trend analysis. But working together that little bit more in a collaborative way, it definitely enhances the service, because we've all got the same goals at the end of the day, which is to service the client to the best possible service that we can provide. But as I said, those long-term relationships are absolutely key. Where we've got that with brokers and with insurance companies, they get the best quality service. If it's all based on cost, you never get that kind of quality or that collaboration.